and welcome to my second Scratch tutorial. This is a pro Scratch art tutorial. The best Scratch art tutorial you can find since I last Googled Scratch art tutorials. Anyways, let's get started. Anyway, so now we are right here. As you can see, we are in the Scratch thing where we'll be designing plenty of Scratch art. Now, I decided that I'm just gonna fit in about as much art tips and tricks as I can. I'm gonna tell you everything from how I make all of my good art to art tips and tricks, and even just how I outline the thumbnail. I will also teach you how to be using each and every one of these tools and when it's a good time to use Bitmap or Vector. Now, this might sound complicated, but it's a lot more easy than it sounds. This really isn't that complicated. Anyways, let's get started. So first off, I'm just going to go over how to outline things and change colors. So if you go to here, you can change the colors using these color slider. This will change the actual color, like whether it's like red, green, blue, purple, or orange and stuff like that. So for example, we're just going to do a weird greenish blue color. You can change the brightness, which makes it darker or lighter. You could also change the saturation, which is basically how light it is. And anyways, so for this color, you can also do that for the outline. So you can change the outline to any color. And if you don't want an outline, then just click this. Now let's go and make this circle. If, say, we want our outline line or even just the color of our circle to be the same color as this, all we have to do is go over here and then just tap on it, and it will select that color. Now, there's also something very cool that you can do that I'm going to explain to you. You can make it so that you can have gradient, and gradient basically means where it's between two colors. So, for example, I'm going to go do a dark red to a light red. Now, whenever I place this circle, it will be gradient, which means that it won't just be one plain color. There's other types of gradients too. This is sideways gradient. There's also up and down gradient. There, and then there's like circle gradient, which is where it's like gradient circle for making cool spheres and stuff. So now we know how to do that. Also, you can also do that with this, and you can make it so that it flashes between an actual color and no color. So as you can see, there's no color right here. So if we were to draw something, and then put it right here, well, it wouldn't do very much because we have to make it go to the back layer. And see, look, this thing will go behind it because this is gradienting between nothing and red. You can also do the same thing with the outline. Now, let me go talk about how to keep all your layers straight and stuff. So let's go do an outline to make it easier for me to show basically what I'm doing. So basically, I'm going to go make a circle. Now, these things let you stretch it. So you can stretch it like this, stretch it down, and then you can make it bigger by using this thing. You can make it bigger or smaller. Now, you can also grab this little thing right here, and then your mouse will turn into this little thing that looks like a Mickey Mouse hand for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And then you can rotate this into any direction you want. And then you can also add in more circles, of course. Now let's talk about layering. Now with this button, you can make it go to the back layer, which is where, as you can see, it is behind this object because everything you see is just a bunch of layers stacked on top of each other. You can make it go to the front layer, clicking this front layer button. You can also make it go backwards or forwards layers. You can delete it using this, or you can just delete it by pushing the backspace key. Anyways, you can also take two things, such as like this blue circle and this tinier blue circle, and then you can just do this, and you can group them together using this. This is good for keeping all of your things organized, whether you're making animations or just art for your game. Now, as you can see, whenever I drag this one drags along with it because I grouped them together. Whatever you select, you can group as many things as you as you want, and then you can ungroup it clicking this. Now, as you can see, they're not grouped anymore. Now, you can also change the outline, so you can make the outline like 100 or something crazy, so then it would have like a really big outline. But for now, let's just stick with 5. Let's just say 5. Now, we can erase this using the eraser tool, and you can change the size higher or lower. And for anything that you need to change a number, you can click this down arrow or this up arrow, or you can just type in your own number. And then whenever you erase two things with an outline, as you can see, the two shapes that are separated both have outlines too, because that's the way it works with vector. Vector is what we've been using this whole time. As you can see right here, it says convert to bitmap. That means that we're in vector. Now, vector is like normal things, like most game art. But if you want to make something pixel or like blocky, then that is when you can use the bitmap. And also, I'm excited to share with you that I will be going over how to make pixel art in this video as well. But anyways, let's move on to the typing tool. So you can change the color to anything, and you can't do gradients right now, and I'll tell you in a minute why. And then you can type in stuff using typing on the keyboard, and then you can click away, and then as you can see, you can shrink it, stretch it, just like every other object. Shrink it, stretch it, rotate it, stuff like that. But you can also, but now as you can see, now that I've placed it, here's a special tip on how to make gradient letters, how to make your letters gradient. So now what you need to do is you need to get a gradient color from this select tool, which is the tool that looks like a mouse pointer right here. And then as you can see, I can take this and I can go over to the fill tool, which fills in a shape. I can fill in the shape, any shape, including the outline of other shapes. And then I can make it so that it will fade between two colors. Like everything else, I can choose between any of these options. But for now, let's just do this one. And can you erase text? The answer is no. You cannot erase part of text in vector mode. However, you can do that in bitmap. And then there is the line tool, which lets you just draw lines and stuff. You can change the thickness. Say you have like 10 thickness and you want to connect it to a 1 thickness. Whenever you try to connect it, the thing you're trying to connect it to will also be the same amount of thickness. Now, as you can see, how you know if they're going to be linked is if you see this tiny little circle right here, whenever I get close to it. That means that they will be linked and do the same thing. They will be connected and of the same width and color. You can change the color like everything else, like red or something. And then, now let's say we were to make a shape, like any random shape. As long as these two ends are connected, you can go over to the fill tool and you can fill in this shape so that your shape can be filled. Now, there are also some other tools that Vector has in store for us. For example, it has this tool which you can give an outline. It just draws a square. Change the color of the outline, make it gradient. Same thing as before. And then there is also the circle tool, which is what we've been using this whole time. This thing works the exact same way as the square tool. And you can erase practically everything but text. Text cannot be erased unless you're in bitmap mode. There's the draw tool, which just lets you draw stuff. Now, if you draw things where the two ends are connected, even if it's just going out like that, you can go over to the fill tool, and then you can actually fill in these little segments with color, and then you can draw away the segments so that the outline would be gone. You can also set the outline to nothing for anything that has an outline so that it will be outlineless. Now, I'm going to go show you something very cool that you can do in Vector. So now let's set our color to white, for example, and then let's type something such as like hello. And now if I make this hello bigger because you can't really see it very well. And at the moment, we can go over the here, and even though it has no outline normally, you can go over the here, and then guess what? You can hack life by giving your text an outline. You can change the color of the outline outline, and you can also just change the color of the text. So then we can make cool stuff like this, for example. Now if we want to zoom in, all we have to do is click these plus arrows, which will zoom you in. Minus arrows will zoom you out. This thing will reset you to the basic thing, which is this. Now as you can see, this little border right here, so this border, wait, okay, so this border, now that border, basically what that border does is that border tells you what will be on screen. So if I were to make something off screen and set the position to 0, 0, wait, 0, 0. As you can see, all of this part that's not in this section is off screen on the screen. So whenever you look at the screen, as you can see, it will be this, and 0, 0 is the basic position. So whatever you see here, you will see here. Now it does not apply if we were to change the size. Say if we were to change the size to say 10, then we could be able to see all of it. It would just be really tiny. So make sure that if you want everything, so whatever you want people to see, make sure that it is on screen at all times. Now we're gonna go into something a little bit more complicated. But once you know how to do it, it is not that hard. This is the Reshape tool. You can use this on any shape, including ones that you made from just using the line tool. You can reshape it, which just changes the shape, and you can drag from any of these points or just none of these points, and we'll add a new point to your thing, and you can make awesome shapes such as this, which I think looks like a weird plane thing. I don't really know what this is supposed to be. You can do this with any shape, such as if we do this with a square, it wouldn't be any different. But there's one more thing I have to go show you about the Reshape tool. As you can see, you can have the angle at the basic angle, pointed angle, or curved angle. After you make a thing, once you see these little things here, you can change it to pointed or curved, and then you can rotate it like this. And also, sorry if you hear the background sound. That's just people. And once you make a thing, you can use these things to do kind of this, and then you could like stretch out like really far like that, and you can make complex shapes to help you in your thing. Now, let's go into something that everyone loves, Bitmap. Now, Bitmap, as you can see, if we were to draw a circle, and then we were to give it an outline, the outline in this thing would have to be the same as the fill, so you can't make it have a separate outline. Also, as you can see, the edges are rough, and also the selecting works very differently. We don't select the shape that we just drew in bitmap mode. We select whatever part of the shape we did. Now, you can use bitmap mode if you want, but I'd recommend vector for most art, because bitmap just makes it look all pixely. But pixely is good under one circumstance, if you're trying to make pixel art. Now, if we're to make these letters, the letters get pixel, but not too pixel. But we can't give the letters an outline in this. We can't give anything an outline in bitmap mode. That is why vector is a lot more useful. But, however, you also can't group anything either. And also, if you were to erase a part of the shape, the outline would not show. It would just erase whatever it's touching. It just erases everything. But now I'm going to go show you how to do something really cool. So now I'm going to show you the fabulous art of, pixel art. The line tool still works. As you can see if our brush is set to size 10, look, it looks like, a weird pixelized circle. If we want to make it a square so we can do pixel art, what we need to do is we need to set it to 5 or less. As you can see, it's a square. And since it's a line tool, we can make lines. Diagonal lines will look a little bit weird, so try to refrain from diagonal lines in pixel mode. But there is something you can do to make it look really cool. Now, you can't really do any decimals such as 0.1. That would just convert you to 1 because 1 and 0.5 are the two smallest pixels you can have. But here's a good tip. Whenever you're doing pixel art, unless you're making lines, don't use a weird tool. Use this tool because this tool will just draw. But you have to make sure you only tap, because if you accidentally do that, then that just kind of looks weird. But if you set the thing to 1, like it's set right now, it actually looks more natural, like pixel art. But however, if we were to set it to something like 5, yeah, that doesn't look as good as this because this doesn't snap to a grid as much, allowing you to do things like this that you can't do in the size 1. The grid becomes more noticeable and more noticeable the farther you get into your thing, and you can make awesome pixel art with Bitmap. Like, for example, let me just go make you some quick pixel art using this. Also, in case you were wondering, yes, you can change the color, and also you can't really have gradients unless you do one thing. Let me just go show you that one thing. You can go to here, and then you can only do gradients if you go to the fill tool and then fill in each little thing. But gradients won't work on size 1. You need to make your brush a higher size if you want it to work. Now, if we were to go over to here and then make this thing gradient, then it would work. And if it isn't touching a shape and you want to make it gradient, well, then it will just delete it. Anyways, I'm going to go make some pixel art real quick. Then tell you how I made it. Just wait one second. Okay, so as you can see, all we have right now after this pixel art I just made, is, for whatever reason, I don't know why I decided to make this, it is just 2 boots. Now, I'm going to quickly go tell you how to fill in this. It's so simple. And also, the cool thing about pixel art is whenever you fill it, it gets this nice design, making it so that it's like fading out when you're doing pixel art. If you're doing something big, such as the whole background, you won't really get to see something like this unless you do it on a smaller shape created using a size 5 or smaller. Also, here's just a free tip. If you want to make pixel art, I suggest using the line tool because you can just place dots anywhere, and if you fail, then you can just do this. Also, I forgot to mention this. I don't know how. This is the undo arrow. Undo is the last thing you did, and then the redo redo is what you just did. Then this thing converts it to vector and bitmap. Bitmap sets it to basic size, as we learned earlier. Zooms in, zooms out. Anyways, so I hope you enjoyed these tips and enjoyed this video. But there's just a couple more things I have to go over. First off, how to name your sprite. All you have to do is just go over here and name it whatever you want. So, for example, we're gonna name it first good art. Now, I'd like you to know that if you were to just if you were to make it so that you can, okay, so basically if you were to make it so that you can do art, wait, okay, so basically these things, flip it horizontal and flip it vertical, these will also work in vector mode. But there's just one thing about bitmap that they don't have. They don't have a reshape tool. As you can see, none of these tools are the reshape tool. We have all the other tools from earlier, but the reshape tool. Also, if you want to make a good circle, all you have to do is just take the circle thing, set it to a size 5 or smaller, and then make the circle. It looks like this. And then if you want to make a bigger circle with like more art, then you can just make the circle bigger. And then you can also shrink it by whatever you select. Select just shrink, and then it will be shrunken. But since it is really shrinking so far, it just turns into this. Now, if you want to avoid that from happening, then what you have to do is you have to convert to vector. Now, I bet that you have noticed that it's really tiny. As you can see, this is size 100 right here, and this is how tiny our thing is. I bet that like everyone on Earth wants bigger pixel art. So what you have to do is you have to click this and then convert to vector. You can keep converting them in between these two things, but let's just make this bigger. So now, only make it bigger in vector mode. Only make your pixel art bigger in vector mode, because, for example, if you were to make it bigger in bitmap mode, this is what were to happen. Now, as you can see, I bet you're like, well, that actually worked. A lot of the times, that does not work. Also, if you rotate things in bitmap, then this is what happens to them. They have really jagged edges. You can tell if this thing was smaller. Like, let me just go make it smaller so you can tell. See, look, do you see how jagged those edges are? If you want to rotate it, convert it to vector, and then rotate it to get your thing better, back into a better size. Now, if you want more art tips or don't understand this tutorial, just say so on my profile, and I'll make a part 2 to this tutorial. This thing just hides and unhides your thing. And basically, so you can hide your thing. Set the position by changing these. X is side to side, Y is up and down. So, and you can't put letters in here. So as you can see, that moves slightly to the right, and then this would make it move higher. And then you can change the direction using this. Although, if you were to rotate the pixel art, as you can see, you'd have to zoom in pretty close, but the edges aren't exactly perfectly straight. Anyways, this should conclude our tutorial on how to make on how to use the art tools and make pro art. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will try to make more videos in the future.